The goal of the Fallout 2 restoration project is to reintroduce all the content, all the locations, NPCs, quests, and items that were cut or left incomplete in the original release of Fallout 2, a game that was made in under a year. Let me tell you a quick story. More than 2 decades ago, back when I was still in school, there was this kid, let's call him the edgy kid, who tried to impress other children by making up facts about the sensational game Fallout 2. He would invent all sorts of stories and features, some of them based on urban legends that used to exist in the Fallout community, others I have never heard from anyone but the edgy kid. One time, he claimed to have found a way to rescue Sulik's sister from the slavers. Sulik is one of the game's companions, and his personal quest was cut during the development. Another time, he said that somewhere in Fallout 2 there was a working motorcycle you could drive around instead of a car. A lie so outrageous, I still remember it to this day. So, the restoration project. How much new content could there really be? According to this walkthrough, the answer is a lot. Almost an entire game's worth. So here is the plan. In this video, we'll cover the restored content only, nothing else. We'll explore a hidden side of Fallout 2 you probably have never seen before. To spice things up, I'll be restricting myself to honorable weapons only. That's the samurai sword and the spear you get in the game's very first location. Anyways, let's start at the beginning. Our home, the village of Arroyo, is shielded from the outside world by deep canyons. But now, a brutal drought threatens to wipe out the village. After completing a dangerous trial, the tribal warrior Matthias, a direct descendant of Arroyo's legendary founder, was named the Chosen One. Our mission is to leave the safety of the canyon and venture into the outside world to recover an ancient machine that can bring life to the wasteland. We know where to begin our search: Clamoth, a small civilized town just a few days' walk from Arroyo.
Clamoth is to the east.
The first major change in the restoration mod is the new world map sprite. Instead of simple terrain with green circles, urban areas are now visibly represented on the map, a clear visual upgrade over the original. And aesthetics isn't the only thing that changed. A tall and powerfully built warrior stands before you. So they cast out Kaga and then deem you the Chosen One. The Kaga encounters are a very interesting new feature. This man used to be a candidate for the Chosen One, but then he was exiled from Arroyo for reasons unspecified. He hates Matthias for being a nepo baby, undeserving of his status. Kaga has above average HP, and he is scripted to run away when he takes too much damage. His story is parallel to ours. As Matthias grows stronger, so does our rival, gaining experience, equipment, and allies. We will meet again. The Kaga scenes are great. It's a clever way of introducing some Arroyan culture into the later parts of the story. Some things could be better, like he doesn't have much in a way of personality, but that's just nitpicking.
Don't want people mistaking me for old Bone Nose over there. I ain't never seen no tribal do something as dumb as jam a bone in his nose.
Clamoth is a small community of trappers who hunt giant lizards, prized for their pelts. This is the stopping point for trading caravans on their way to the tribal villages to the north. And from a tribal point of view, this place is the gateway to civilization. The mod makes a number of small changes and restores a major quest. Some bad apples in the community are stealing Brahmin. We can go on a detective investigation to find out who the thieves are. There is now an alternative way of killing the monstrous rat living beneath the trapper town. Placing an explosive near one of these supports will collapse this part of the cave. That, according to a walkthrough, I haven't tried it myself, seems silly to waste an explosive on an enemy that is not very hard to kill. Clamoth is where we get one of the game's best companions, Sulik, a fellow tribal with a problem. Like us, he ventured into the civilized world with a mission.
Sis went trading at another village and never come back. We and I go look for her.
The search for Sulik's missing sister might be the most well-known bit of cut content in Fallout 2. This quest, absent from the original game, has been restored, as was Sulik's home village, which is now a location accessible on the world map.
The tribe's home is next to Great Saltwater. 2 moons from here, friend.
The Umbra tribe is located to the south of Arroyo, on the coast. Far from civilization, in this part of the world, you will mostly encounter tribal-themed random events. This was always in the game, but there was little reason to go to this part of the map until now. Can you guess why I am a hermit? Why? I want to be left alone. When we arrive at the village, Sulik temporarily leaves the party to reconnect with his people. The new ambient track is quite nice. Unfortunately, I failed to find any information on who the composer is. In addition to farming and trapping, the tribals appear to be industrious fishermen. And sure, there are quests. A trader from the civilized lands is about to arrive with goods. When we last spoke, he boasted he'd be bringing something miraculous. The tribal war chief is worried he's being scammed, so he asks us to come along. The merchant shows up flanked by guards wielding desert eagles. Let's get down to business, shall we? Have you ever heard of a little item called a stim pack? The trader has a crate of medical supplies, most of which are counterfeit, but I can't prove it. Matthias doesn't have enough points in perception. But should we allow our neighbors to get scammed just because we failed a stat check? I don't think so. This is a good quest. The interaction between the tribal world and civilization is exactly the kind of story Fallout 2 needed more of. There are other, smaller tasks for us to do. A tribal shaman, who talks like a stoner, wants us to exorcise a ghost. Yeah, that's a little stupid. But overall the content is solid. I rate these new additions highly. I can also see why the tribe was cut from the game. This place is low stakes, low drama, and it exists primarily to deepen the characterization of tribal life.
Good to see you home, but not while Sis is still gone. Be wanting to stay in your company, okay?
We ask around about Sulik's missing sister and get a lead. A place called The Den, home of the Slaver King.
The evil warriors tied up the rest and took off. Sis with them. Friend, we be finding her or dying trying.
The Den is a frontier town and the unofficial capital of drug and slave trafficking in Northern California. But it wasn't always this way. You can see traces of a once normal community beneath the layers of decay. Maybe, someday, it could be normal again. The most notable addition is the Den residential area. There is very little for us to actually do here, but its inclusion matters. It's important to show ordinary people trying to endure the chaos. The gang quest chain is different now. Lara, a gangster from Westside, asks for our help, wiping out a rival crew holed up in the Eastside Church. This is now a 2-stage fight. After taking the church, we are transported to the residential, where we crush a party and shoot a bunch of people up. The changes are good. I wish they did something interesting with the combat puzzle. Maybe make one of the drunk enemies carry a flamethrower or something. So this is the compound where the slavers keep Sulik's sister. There are 2 cages full of captives and about a dozen goons with rifles. That's too much for us to handle. We'll need backup. The trip to the NCR will take no less than 3 weeks. and we are once again ambushed by Kaga, who seems to have made new friends, some sort of wasteland raider types. Matthias incapacitates Kaga with a hit in the head and then takes his civilized weapon as an act of humiliation. Our nemesis gets up, yells a bunch of threats, and then runs away pathetically. Get used to seeing this. So the new California Republic, a rising star in wasteland politics. But some say that they don't have what it takes.
These new governments, they think they've got all the answers. Blah, blah. Been there, seen that. Got the scars.
It's possible to get assistance from the NCR Rangers in our anti-slaver struggle, but since the NCR is on the other side of the map, this does require a bit of meta-knowledge. It seems the modders have removed the overpowered Bozar weapon from the Merchant's Guard's inventories. That's a good call. A gun like that should be rare. We can now use the intelligence found in the Ranger HQ to mark Ranger safe houses on our map. They look like this. If you side with the slavers, you'll get to raid the Ranger safe houses, and if you join the Rangers, they'll help you rescue Sulik's sister. The game fast travels us back to the compound near the den. Our new allies recklessly spray their rifles vaguely in the direction of the enemy. It's a miracle that only 2 of the captives died in the crossfire. The woman Kurisu, Sulik's sister, is a very unlucky Fallout character who managed to get cut from the game twice. She was to appear in Black Isle's cancelled Fallout 3 as a joinable ally, but that never materialized. Behind the scenes, the name Kurisu is a joke concerning Avalon's first name. Chris is pronounced Kurisu when translated into Japanese. Anyways, the new Ranger Slaver content is fine. It feels good to finally finish this quest 27 years later. The game transports us back to the Umbra tribe once we are done. And after spending a day celebrating with the tribals, we are ready to hit the road again.
Being home is cool, but the place is looking a mite small now. We'd miss the road and the company of so fine a friend as you. Want us to walk by and by again?
So the Gecko is supposed to be in a vault. I don't know any vaults, but I do know of Vault City.
Interesting. Friend, Vault City ain't an interesting place.
Actually, Vault City is plenty interesting. A crime-free utopia, it's avoided the sociological issues plaguing the other Northern Californian communities. Its high standard of living is made possible by Vault technology, as well as exploitation of wastelander labor. If you played this game before, you might have noticed that Vault City looks different than you remember. The Restoration Project, or at least this specific fork of the mod, makes many changes to the original Fallout 2 locations. The Vault City internal area was remodeled. The purpose of this place is to culturally shock you, showcasing the stark contrast and quality of life between Vault City and the outside world. But the original developers have already nailed that contrast with their design, so this is kind of redundant, isn't it? Anyways, our old friend Cassidy has a talking head now.
The next cheap son of a bitch who haggles for a drink is gonna be wearing his ass for a hat.
The voice actor sounds exactly how I imagined Cass to sound. The major piece of restored content in Vault City is the Village Annexation Quest. Here is a TLDR. Citizen Sergeant Stark wants us to travel to a nearby village and kill the mole rats harassing the people there. The mole rats turn out to be not aggressive. In fact, the villagers claim that the presence of the animals is the only thing stopping Vault City from annexing them. After running back and forth, we end up in the abandoned nuclear power plant beneath Gecko, where a talking mole rat called Brain reveals that this is a part of his unspecified master plan. The village remains free. Verdict: mole rat poo. People were posting horrible toxic shit about Fallout the Frontier for much less. Apologize, Chud. but it does get better. I really like the changes to the ghoul town of Gecko, especially the restoration of another legendary cut questlet.
Well, whoever you are, I just dispatched a Verdi assault team to your location. Have a nice day.
This terminal at the Poseidon power plant lets us connect to Enclave net and have a conversation with a board communications officer.
Enclave here. Why isn't your video feed working?
It doesn't take him long to figure out we are not who we're supposed to be.
I've got you. At Poseidon Oil, reactor number 5. Well, why don't you just sit tight and I'll order up a little celebration for you, including fireworks.
This conversation was always part of the game. You talk shit to the officer and he'll make threats, but previously nothing would come out of it. Uh-oh. The Enclave commander is armed with a Gauss pistol. His team packs high-tier shotguns.
Rest in peace, Chosen One.
The game provides us an option to bullshit the Verti Assault Squad into leaving us alone, and I do take this option, to get to a more tactically advantageous position. I've always wanted to know, is it possible to kill a power armor trooper with a basic tribal weapon we got in Arroyo? Yes, if you are a Chosen One, and if you got the Better Criticals perk that allows for critical one-hit kills. Sulik scores another lucky hit on one of the shotgun soldiers. Cassidy didn't make it. Sulik falls, but he is still alive. I incapacitate the soldier with a hit to the head, and his body falls on Sulik's. It's important that we pick up the trooper's weapon to disarm him. Despite my best efforts, the Enclave dudes finish off our tribal friend. I disable and disarm them one by one. So, was it all worth it? Yes. Yes, it was. We did prove an important point. The changes to Gecko are very good. Another 27-year-old debt is repaid. But we are out of companions. I need someone to carry all the guns we just looted. This is Lenny. He is a ghoul doctor found in Gecko. He has a new sprite now, and because of how Fallout's engine works, this means he can now use rifle-type weapons. I give Lenny one of our Enclave rifles. His weakness is that the ghoul has a very slow walking animation, but honestly I think it's a great mechanical quirk. It adds to his character. Well, onwards to the new location. This one is based on Team Kane's concept.
Where did one such as you hear of a Garden of Eden creation kit? Such technology is not meant for outsiders.
The Abbey is a small monastic community north of Gecko, and it's easily my favorite piece of restored content. Hello there, traveler. Welcome to the Abbey. Keep your nose clean, and we'll get along just fine. The monks are dedicated to preserving knowledge, but unlike the Brotherhood of Steel, they don't seem to be interested in actually using any of it. In fact, the scribes copying the ancient texts aren't even supposed to read them. An unrelated discovery. The game now has sword fighting animations. You can now do a 6-string samurai LARP. Sadly, there doesn't seem to be a high-tier sword weapon to go with it. The mapping in the Abbey is excellent. The monks learn to make efficient use of the limited space. They brew alcohol, they have a printing press, and a water processor, as well as a dungeon, with a Deathclaw waiting at the end. Like Sulik's tribe, this is another low-drama, low-ish XP location. Feels like it should be placed somewhere between the Den and Modoc. Once we gain the locals' trust, they give us permission to access the monastery database, where we learn some basic information about what vaults are and what a Gek does. For the player, this isn't new or useful, but for our character, who grew up in a tribal village and has no understanding of pre-war technology, this is a big deal.
It is said it can bring life to the wasteland.
But we should head back to civilization. Hello and welcome, traveler. Have you heard the word today? Mr. Moore is a Vault City citizen and an anti-slavery activist. The word, my friend, is selfishness. Mix in a slew of arrogance, and what do you have? Vault City, in all its self-righteous, slave-trading glory. Amen, brother. He wants us to deliver a locked briefcase to Mr. Bishop in the city of New Reno. Kaga is now traveling with a group of wasteland mercenaries. My skills have increased since we last met. Mine did as well. Pathetic display, as always.
Oh, are you fucking serious? Whoa, hey, you keep me around, I'll do you a favor. Huh? What do you say?
The biggest little city in the world, the capital of sin. New Reno has no official government or police force. The order is kept by the crime families. This place never suffered from the shortage of content, but it has even more stuff to do now. But first things first, we have another round of arbitrary and confusing location changes. Here's some lore for you. The cancelled Black Isle Fallout 3 had a location called Tibbets, and the design document for Tibbets contained part of the design document for New Reno, possibly to be used as a template. TLDR, this is how we know that the official name of this building here is Shitty Building 1. As you can see, Shitty Building 1 was reduced in size and remodeled into a church. But why? I don't get it. What did the iconic Shitty Building 1 ever do to you? There is a new addition. We can now do stand-up. Folks who don't know why America is the land of promise should be here during an election campaign. But not all changes are bad. 3-Card Monty is a restored character. He sells information that can help with various quests in Reno. A good aesthetic change was made to the Mordino drug lab, the stables. The game now visually communicates that they are doing horrible, unethical experiments on the slaves.
You're getting bent at me over a bunch of slaves? Hey, we had to make sure Jet wouldn't kill our customers.
Myron is a teenage chemist responsible for creating the most addictive drug in California. But we are not recruiting him because we like him. We are doing it because he knows the coordinates to a major restored location, the EPA.
I've heard of a secret building with lots of strange vegetation around it. If I'm with you, I can point it out on a map.
The Environmental Protection Agency, the game's biggest dungeon type of an area. The entrance is guarded by carnivorous plants. The spikes they spit hit like a rifle round, as Myron is about to find out. To get inside the underground complex, you'll need a rope. There is almost no combat in the EPA, and what little there is mostly happens here on the ventilation level, where you find mantises and scorpions. Jam the pole into the fan and access the bridge level, which connects the two halves of the facility. Life? Don't talk to me about life. This is Mr. Kemi, a massive machine, the pharmacist of the future. The room housing Mr. Kemi is toxic, so you'll need a gas mask and then you'll have to unblock the fans to proceed. These are not cazadors. Fruit flies are like flying rats, they're basically harmless, and the room they're guarding has nothing inside. It seems to be just for flavor. There are quite a few quests in the EPA. The quest givers are these holograms who will have us repairing parts of the facility and performing scientific experiments. One of the experiments is about shooting mutated plants with a novel laser pistol called the Solar Scorcher. One of our researchers, Dr. Hodkin, has made a wonderful discovery. Apparently, by repeating a series of letters with the proper inflections, a listener can be cured of a number of neurological diseases, such as autism or epilepsy. And so the tribal warrior Matthias learns to cure autism. What a strange story this is. I was curious if the autism thing was a modder's idea or something the original developers came up with. Unlike most things in the restoration project, the EPA was based on the genuine Black Isle design document. And yes, it seems the idea of curing autism by repeating a series of letters is a Black Isle invention. The 90s were weird. After we are done collecting all the keys and passcodes, we access the secret level. I don't have the skills to disable the force field, but TNT works. The hibernation chamber. Each unit contains a preserved individual from the old world. In order to wake them up, we need a special chemical compound manufactured by Mr. Chemi, and it seems you only get to restore one hibernating individual. So let's take a look at our options. Candidate 1, Kitsune, a woman with a thief skill set, a former spy. The guide says she will help you with lockpicking in the same way Myron helps with science. Candidate 2, Cat Jules, a US Army soldier who volunteered for some human-feline DNA experimentation. Jules has an easygoing, laid-back persona, but barely any backstory. He also has the best weapon skills of all the candidates, and he can give you some weapon training. Candidate 3, Dex, a serial killer and a psychopath. According to the guide, if you have positive karma, he'll pretend to be innocent, but to evil characters, he'll come clean. Dex can teach you speech and barter. He uses the well-dressed man sprite, which limits his weapon choices to pistols, SMGs, melee, and unarmed. I choose Cat Jules as a companion and give him the Solar Scorcher. So, the EPA. Verdict. This is the biggest dungeon in Fallout 2. It's megalomaniacally big, but that didn't bother me much. Overall, it's a good addition, but it has a very significant flaw. The EPA is basically an adventure game. There is no tension, no sense of threat, there is barely any combat. It would be terribly boring to play for a second time. Before progressing the main quest, we should tie some loose ends around Reno.
I thought we were saved. I thought we were going to heaven.
The EPA companions will occasionally comment on the environment and on other companions, or at least Jules does. It's all very basic, but it's there. Someone once told me I don't exercise enough. Well, they're wrong. I get my exercise running to the funerals of my friends who exercise. Alright, first things first, Mr. Bishop's quest. Remember the briefcase Mr. Moore gave us? Even under all that getup, you still look like one of them tribals. Bishop is one of the Reno Mafia bosses, a very sophisticated mercenary who does espionage on behalf of the NCR. The briefcase contains smuggled Vault City medical tech. It's from Moore, alright. Says you check out Tribal. Lucky for you. This quest was in the original Fallout 2. Mr. Bishop sends us to the NCR to assassinate Councilman Weston, a Vault City ally and political obstacle to Bishop's interests. This adventure was changed. For the worse. Normally what happens is that you discover Weston's heart condition, then you talk your way into his ranch, and inject Weston with a potent drug of your choice to trigger a heart attack. It's an elegant and intuitive solution. But now you have an option of doing basically the same thing, but stupider, by going through an elaborate fetch quest, which involves us traveling all the way back to Reno, getting a special brand of dick pills from Renesco, and then going back to the NCR and replacing Weston's meds with the pills. He dies off screen. Quest complete. The developer's vision wasn't to bore you with fetch quests, so I'm glad this was cut. While we are in the NCR, it's worth visiting Dr. Henry, an ex-Enclave scientist who asks us to field test an anti-mutant drug. This quest also was in the original game, but what's new is that now we can warn the mutants in Broken Hills about the unethical experiments being conducted on their kind in the NCR.
What is it people got against mutants? We'll be on the lookout.
Interestingly, both Marcus and Dr. Henry survive into New Vegas, where they seem to get along just fine, despite this rather grim chapter in their shared history. Kaga is wearing combat armor now. He is armed with a minigun and is quite dangerous. In melee, he will switch to a cattle prod. His escorts must be the legendary Khans. Kaga keeps clinging to more and more of civilized man's technology. He has been seduced by the comforts of civilization, but I won't fall the same way. Matthias will remain pure. So, where do you know more from? He trying to play politics among the tribes now? For all his preaching, old Tomcat Moore can't seem to step off his soapbox long enough to actually do any legwork. Still, that didn't make him any different from any other NCR boy. One more thing before we move on. I almost forgot about this, but this here resident of Shitty Building 1 can be cured of autism. A sentence that is strangely fun to say out loud. Woof! Woof woof! Are you alright? Matthias says the phrase he learned in the EPA. Woof woof. Whoa! I can speak normally. What did you do to me? You know, if Kirkbride would have written this, we would be able to inflict autism by speaking the phrase in reverse. Just a random thought. If you were wondering if the barking character in Planescape Torment has any connection to this, well, the design doc says the idea came from their work on the EPA, so yes, there is a connection. Verdict on the mid-game quest changes. They are mostly inconsequential. But let's take a look at one of the more important additions in the mod. We are somewhere in the desert outside Reno. The Salvatore family hired Matthias to oversee an important transaction between the mobsters and mysterious outsiders. It makes sense to get us involved. Matthias is something of an expert on the Enclave. The restoration mod makes it possible to climb inside the vertebrate's cargo hold. The door seals behind us. We are stuck. The aircraft takes off.
Unit 3? I thought you were still at Navaro Base. Hey, who the hell is this anyway?
Previously, there was no way of accessing Navaro until you learned of its location in San Francisco, but now there is a shortcut, and I like that. Once the vertebrate lands, we are quickly discovered. The game gives you an option to start the battle near the hangar, but that's a bad idea. We are in range of at least one plasma turret, among other things. So we surrender and get taken to the base commander, who has the office in the underground level. It took me a few moments to notice this, but Lenny the Ghoul isn't with us anymore. The soldiers must have executed him off screen. We will never see Lenny again. But for some reason they never disarmed Matthias or Jules, and it was probably a mistake to bring us within melee range of the officer. Unfortunately, this is where we lose our friend from the past. While this encounter isn't easy, it should be doable with a well-equipped mid-game party. Other than that, the changes to Navaro seem to be minimal. I steal the suit of advanced power armor and repair K9 the Robodog, a melee companion you normally get very late in the game. We have to warn the tribe that we have much bigger problems than agriculture. Arroyo is gone.
The beasts swallowed all, then took to the winds.
Our people are dead or taken. But where to? They weren't at Navaro.
Did you never listen when I taught you the yearly dance of the wind spirits? South, of course.
San Francisco, home of the Shi, the ancestors of the crewmen of a Chinese submarine, the Shi-1T, that was beached in San Francisco shortly after the war. The first major addition concerns the Hubologists, the UFO cult building a spaceship in San Francisco. The Hubologist compound was barely changed, except for the room where you meet the Reno porn stars promoting the cult. Hacking this terminal reveals the location of their secret base, which is in the wasteland about a day's walk from the city. Oh my science! Look at that! They have a bike! The prophecy of the edgy kid is coming true. Wait a second. Is this bike isometric? Yes, I believe it is. I'm so good at this. Anyways, this is floor 1. Floor 2 is living quarters. Floor 3 is the vault. We feed the guard to the dog and get the treasure. The other big addition is the rogue Shi scientist drama. The Steel Palace is more or less the same. The cafeteria seems to have been changed to a sports science room. You hack this unremarkable terminal here and learn about the rogue scientist. These things are plant-human hybrids, kind of like the green abominations from New Vegas. Their creator, a Shi scientist with a crazed look in his eyes, wants us to clear out a lab overrun by rogue experiments. The hybrids attack by spitting projectiles, like the mutated plants do. The difference is that these enemies get many attacks per round, and since Fallout 2 is a turn-based game, it's pure misery to have to wait for all of them to make their turn. Worse, they tend to aim for the head. If one of these hits scores a critical, you'll be knocked out, and then death is basically inevitable. This ended up being one of the hardest battles in the game. Verdict: the San Francisco Quest editions are okay, but the numbers need to be tweaked a little. So anyways, we have another problem. The Shi-1T, the Chinese submarine, has awakened. Its ancient targeting protocols are active, and it will fire torpedoes at any ship that tries to leave the harbor. If we are going to reach the Enclave oil rig and save our people, we'll need to find a way to disable the sub. Kaga! I'm looking forward to going home to Arroyo to burn it down. He doesn't seem to be up to date. You have been a worthy enemy. The Cyberdog deals very inconsistent damage. The wiki says it's as tough as a power armor user, but it sure doesn't feel like that. One of the reasons I'm glad you can go to Navaro earlier is that the dog isn't super useful when you get it normally. Kaga is wearing a suit of advanced power armor. Not sure where he got it, but that's very resourceful of him. He is armed with plasma grenades and a Gatling laser. His escorts are some of those mysterious high-tech mercenaries found around San Francisco. Many were called, but few were chosen. I will miss the bastard. The San Francisco docks. As you can see, the modders changed the ground tiling. This is how it used to be. Nice, clean, readable. And now you can barely tell the foreground from the background. This boat will take you to the Shi-1T. The guard can be persuaded to look the other way. When I read online that exploring the sub is now a mandatory part of the main quest, I was more than a little annoyed. Fallout 2 is not a short game, and by the time you reach San Francisco, you probably had enough questing. But after actually playing this, I can now say that this is complete non-issue. It's a tiny map, and all you have to do is use a skill on a computer to disable the sub. The tanker dungeon was changed as well, as you can see. It wasn't improved, it wasn't ruined. One of the many strange changes the mod makes. Now, we stalk our prey all the way to its nest, the Enclave oil rig in the Pacific.
Then they brought us here, to hell. Do you know what must be done, Chosen One?
Matthias the Autism Doctor and K9 the Robot Dog. Name a more iconic duo. Actually, I could name a few. The changes to the control station are mostly aesthetic. You get to see autopsies performed on kidnapped vault dwellers and on our people. The guide claims it's possible to arm the nuke from the presidential level. I haven't tried it myself because it seems to be a joke option. The bomb just goes off immediately. There is no way around it. We'll have to fight Frank Horrigan, a super mutant in power armor, and we'll have to do it with nothing but a spear and a sword. Well, that's not exactly true. Matthias convinces the Enclave squad to back him up. K9 goes down in the opening moments. First casualty. Matthias has advanced power armor, 3 ranks of toughness, and he is high on Psycho. His resistances are phenomenal, and they don't help at all against Frank's damage output. We'll have to wait for him to run out of rounds for the end boss plasma gun. For this purpose, I will be using our Enclave allies as meat shields. I hope you didn't get too attached to Sergeant Granite. Finally, he's out of ammo. Look at that, he too has a sword. Alright, time to commit. And the spear does basically no damage. That was not a favorable trade. Come on, Matthias, get up! Your ride's over, Mutie. Time to die. Off camera, I had to click on Frank for 20 minutes to kill him. 9 points of damage per strike. Fallout 2 Restoration Project, the updated version. Pros. The mod opens up new ways of playing the game. Get a potent energy weapon early. Get a companion from the past. Travel to Navaro in the mid-game. Some of the new sprites and animations are better than the original Fallout 2 work, and the new world map is very good. There is just a ton of new content. Much of it is optional, so it doesn't ruin the pacing. Finishing some of these quests 27 years later felt kinda good. Fallout 2 Restoration Project. Cons. A significant percentage of the new additions is simply not worth doing. Nothing is missing in your life for not experiencing the Chad the Corrupt Caravaner quest. In fact, the quest design is the biggest weakness of this. Next, the mod makes a lot of changes to the existing maps, and many of these changes are arbitrary and kinda bad. I am fully on board with the idea of remaking the weaker Fallout 2 maps, but this is not what it is. Hands off Shitty Building 1. And then there is a problem with the writing style. This is an older project. I believe the bulk of the work was done by 2014. And a feature of the early modding is that the creators often didn't understand the importance of matching the game's original writing style. You can always tell you've wandered into restored content when the game starts bombarding you with these absolutely unholy walls of text. Moving on, the mod increases the frequency of random encounters you get while traveling. It was Killap's intention to bring the game closer to what it was originally. You should be afraid of venturing into the wastes. Well, first of all, I have no idea what closer to what it was originally means. Fallout 1 did not have a dangerous wasteland. We are returning to a past that never happened. The extra battles provide the player with more XP, and thanks to the new encounter types where enemy groups fight each other, also with more free gear. This has an effect of making the game easier as far as gameplay is concerned, but harder in a sense that it's a psychological torture to have to wait for all these dogs to make their turn. So, mission accomplished. Fallout 2 Restoration Project. Verdict. Should you play this? If you are a Fallout veteran, yes, you owe it to Sulik to finally rescue his sister. But if this is your first time, then no, this is not the kind of mod you install for your first playthrough. They should keep working on the restoration project. Somebody should, if not the original team, then someone else. Most of the content is solid. It just needs a little help. Please add a Chinese sword. See you folks in a few weeks.